Okay, let's look at what happened in the war itself. Now, the Nazis take off with initially with what we call a blitzkrieg strategy. Blitzkrieg means a lightning fast war. That's what it means. They would coordinate tank movements, mechanized troop carriers, and fighter aircraft bombers. The idea was that you launch in with your bombers and try to weaken the enemy, soften the enemy up, and then move in tanks rapidly along with troops, not on foot but in carriers, and try to move in and overwhelm somebody with speed and force. The goal was always to take the capital of the nation first, hit the capital hard. You punish civilian population that didn't surrender or fought against you, that didn't work with you, and in months they were able to defeat the French, and they pushed the British back across the English Channel. Now, they do not pursue the British across the English Channel. They wait, and that may have been a mistake for Hitler, because by waiting, he gave England a chance to regroup and reorganize itself and get itself back together. So why did France lose so quickly? Why in a matter of months? Well, first of all, basically the government wasn't prepared for the war. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The government wasn't prepared for the war. The government couldn't agree what to do. The left versus the right argued about how to respond, how to fight them back. The weapons in France were painfully outdated. France had not been spending money on preparing for war like Germany had ever since Hitler came to power. The civilian population was quickly demoralized. First of all, French troops are losing, and second of all, it's not that long since the last war, and only Vichy, France, which you'll notice down here, I've got labeled in blue, the free zone. That is Vichy, France. It's supposed to be free France. You see Vichy's the city. The idea here was that it was supposed to be free France, not part of Germany, but really it's a puppet government. You guys know puppet government. You know, Germans were working like puppets, and they really supported the Nazi war effort. But Hitler gets a little greedy. He figures he's defeated France, he's on the verge of dealing with England, so he decides to invade the Soviet Union. Remember, he hated Stalin and he hated communists. And initially, out of what's modern-day Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Belarus, Ukraine, you can see them all labeled right here. Right here, you can see them right here. They will push back deep into Russia. But you notice he makes the three-pronged approach. He'll attack towards Moscow, towards Leningrad, and towards Stalingrad down here. That's going to be a mistake. We know it's going to be a mistake because, first of all, you have to supply three armies. It can be difficult to defend a supply line that long across enemy territory. Winter kicks in. That makes it very difficult to supply. Snow and bad weather. And the Soviets just refused to surrender. Stalin had a saying where he said, for every body, the Germans are going to have to spend a bullet. In other words, we are not going to surrender. We will not surrender. You will have to kill us before we surrender. If you want to take 10,000 prisoners, it's going to cost you at least 10,000 bullets. Stalin just refused to surrender. And Hitler will get bogged down, particularly here down around Stalingrad. That will be sort of his undoing. So what else stopped Hitler in the Soviet Union? The Soviets just kept retreating eastward. Okay, we can't win on the open battlefield, but we will fight you and then fall back. Fight you and then fall back, and we're going to wear you down. Also, Nazi mass killings inspire guerrilla warfare. And what I mean by that is as the Nazis came through, they did not like the Slavic people. And Slavic people, I'm going back a slide, Slavic people are people who live in Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, and they would slaughter them, line them up, and shoot them into mass graves. So the people who survived hated the Nazis and were more than willing to engage in sabotage against Nazi supply lines and engage in guerrilla warfare against the Nazis. And finally, the Nazis are stopped at Leningrad and perhaps most importantly at Stalingrad, where the Germans are defeated by the winter and defeated by the Russians. Now, one mistake Stalin had made, he'd gone through something, we'll look at it a little bit later on, but he'd gone through something we call the Great Purge. The Great Purge is when he wiped out any enemies or perceived enemies. You know what I mean by perceived? People he thinks are enemies. And he attacks them and puts them on trial and gets ranks false confessions out of them, and particularly his high-ranking military guys. So in the very beginning of the war, he does not have very seasoned officers. But these officers pick up seasoning quickly, and to the Russians' credit, become pretty good fighters pretty quickly. Okay, we'll take a little break here and go with the next.